the energy that surrounds us. Okay, I just realized what happened. I had a brain fart and totally just played the outro as the intro, and I'm looking at the screen going, what is going on? So, welcome to the loveliness of Halloween and, fun of life.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently, tonight we're going to do things backwards, and we'll start with the outro and end with the intro.
You're in a retrograde. That's what's going on.
Most likely so. So, I'm not going to put the intro on now for everyone to enjoy. I am going to go ahead and start to try and salvage my reputation at the show. But in all honesty, I do want to say happy Halloween to everyone. It is next week, so be safe, have fun, and tonight's guest, if you are a fan of my shows and everything, you will recognize as she was on Riding Through the Unknown, and we had so much fun that we decided to bring her on to this show as well. And so I am blessed. I am so excited and happy and honored to invite to this show the one, the only, the astronomical genius that she is, Natalie Olson.
Wow. Well, it's wonderful to be back, and we've already started something with the backwards retrograde. So, wow.
Yeah. I know. I was like, I'm looking at the screen and going, why is it blank? Oh, no. Oh, yeah. It's going to be one of those nights. The fun is already started.
Mm-hmm. So that brings up an interesting question. Since we're flipping the script, so that means I'm the host now, since we're retrograding.
There we go.
So, weird things. Have you noticed? Let's just go there. I know that was backwards, but have you been hearing about random weirdness like that, from objects in the sky to just like weird? Have you heard
Actually,
or have been experiencing?
Yes, I have. And actually, what was one of the strangest things was right before coming on to this show and before we started chatting and getting ready, I was on my friend's show talking about a topic I never thought I would be talking about on her show. And it was like so well received that I was like, almost had a tear in my eye sharing the information, because it's not normally well received. It's normally received like people like, oh, you're one of those conspiracy nut people. or you're one of those people. And everybody was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, that's so true. And this, explains this. And I was like, I almost had a tear in my eye going, this is the crowd I need to be revealing to. This is who
Mhm.
I need to find.
Wow.
But that, and I have to say, I actually went and voted today, and it was like one guy said it took 35 minutes to wait in line to leave after voting, and they were only allowing 5 people at a time at the
Yeah.
location to vote. It was so bizarre.
Now, see, I went yesterday, the day one, when it was the first day.
Yeah.
And yep, the line was wrapped. And I'm like, this is regular day voting line. I was like, what So I said, I'll wait. I'll wait.
It wasn't so bad today, and everybody was like, "Yeah, don't go on day 1 because everybody goes on day 1." It's
Mhm.
day 1 and election day are the busiest days. The in between, you can pretty well probably maneuver through.
Mm. Wow. Okay.
But yeah, and the funny thing is my mom, she likes to check to make sure that, the polling records are correct, and she asked the guy, "Do you have my husband's name on the roll?" Because he had passed away last year, and so the guy sitting next to her was like, "Well, why would we have him on the roll?" And I'm like, "Have you watched any of the news lately? That's a very legit question right now in the world we're living in."
Mhm.
And it was like every question I would hear him, and then I'm like, I stick my ballot in, and I hear her go. He goes, "Well, there's this one," and she goes, "Yeah, that's my son." And the guy goes, "Well, he has a mail-in ballot." And I'm sitting there going, "I have a what?" And I'm about to walk over there and be like, "Excuse me, I have what?" And she goes, "No, he doesn't." He goes, "That's what it says right here." And I said, and I'm like sitting there going, "Oh God, is my ballot about to be canceled out? Am I not going to be able to vote now?" And then she goes, "Well, he just checked in." He goes, "Oh, well, that's what that means." And then they were like, "Well, no, your husband's name's not on the list." And we were like, "Okay, good." But the guy next to her was rude as can be, and
Wow.
you were like, "Man, either you just didn't want to be here today,
Mhm.
or you're having a really bad day, or if this is your personality, I'm going to mean this sentence in the truest Southern hospitality way. Bless his heart. He needs all the help he can get."
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah, it was so strange how it went. And the other thing that was strange is I had my voter ID card, which I normally don't have, and my mom was missing hers, and she normally has hers. So it's like we reversed roles. And
Mm.
I go to hand them my ID card, and they go, "Well, where's your photo ID?" I'm like, "The ID card is what we're supposed to use." They're like, "No, we need your photo ID." I was like, "Why are you sending out voter cards now if you're not going to use them?"
Right. Mm.
But she did make me sign it. She was the first person to make me sign it. I've used it
So you got to have
before.
both?
Yeah. Well, they acknowledged I had the voter card, but then they were like, "No, she's like, okay, well, now that you signed it, you can have it back." And she like held on to my license and goes, "So pick your ballot strip." And I'm like, "This one looks good. This is the one." Okay. Puts it in the machine, does her thing. I sign the form, and she goes, "Okay, here's your ballot. Here's your license." I'm like, "Wow." Normally, the license is only if you don't have a card. It was so
Right. Wow.
backwards today.
Wow. Well, I'll truck out tomorrow. I want to see how it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, being in Texas, that's where I am. So I'm not quite so sure if it may be the same down by you, and you may have a completely different way
Yeah.
answer and be like messaging me going, I don't know what you're talking about, Michael. They took my voter card. They didn't want my ID. They everything different. So
hmm
gotta
Me,
love the
me
Polish.
and my, I'm gonna go in. Me and my four dead cousins. We're gonna go register.
Hey, we all know a party where that'll fly. That or they'll probably already say, "Oh, they're already in the
Right.
system.
Uh
You're good
huh.
to go. Here's your
Wow.
5 ballots so you can cast their votes for them."
And my dog. That's
Oh yeah,
it.
yeah. I was surprised to learn. I think was it Minnesota or Michigan where the guy actually got a voter's thing in the mail for his
Where's
dog.
dog? Oh my gosh.
I was like, I'm like, in what world does a 7 or less? Because I'm pretty confident they didn't list the dog's age in human years. Do you
Or
look at this and go, "Here's a good person to vote"?
show your ID and you get a paw.
Make sure you bring your collar with your name on it. But speaking of that, oh my God, did you see the video of a cop who pulled over a couple of guys in the car and he hands him a collar. He goes,
The
"What
cat.
is?" Yes,
Oh, yes, I
I
did.
love that cop.
Oh my gosh.
That cop became my hero after watching that.
Oh
The
wow.
way
Yep,
he
I saw it.
responded, that was awesome.
Wow. I identify now as an alien.
Well, I think the best line of that cops was, "Well, I need you all to step out of the vehicle and we're going to have your car impounded because last I checked, cats can't drive,
Drive.
operate motor vehicles." That's what he said. And I was
hmm
like, oh, that was
Wow.
priceless. And be like, "We're going to go get you spayed and neutered and you're going to pay for it because you're the owner.
hmm hmm
Or I could get you psychiatric help," which probably was so needed in that moment. Oh, I imagine Shakespeare is laughing himself silly, going, "Oh, you guys thought I was kidding when I penned that line about living in interesting times."
Oh man, I'm sure everybody everywhere is looking down at Earth and United States, and you talking about new reality show. Oh yeah, it's blasting.
Oh, yeah, I could imagine the UFOs are up there going, "Hey, pass the popcorn. It's getting good
Right?
now."
Did you see this?
He's like, "Look at what they're doing now.
hmm
We thought it was really funny 4 years ago. It's getting a reboot."
hmm Talking about conspiracy. Can you imagine just some other being somewhere, far, far away? It's like that's why we don't want to go there. And they pass by us and speed up. Go.
Actually, oh man, I saw this one meme 4 years ago that I thought was priceless, and it was these two green aliens flying up, and they go, "Take us to your leader," and then they showed Brandon, and they go, "Never mind," and left. It's like, oh, that was priceless.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it's been a fun 4 years of Mem's life. It's kept us entertained.
Yeah. Wow. So, what do you see happening in the future? What do you think is, I mean, beyond November? What do you see going on in the world?
Well, I see the world actually trying to figure out how to word this so people will understand is ascending beyond where we are
Mm.
and leaving
Mm.
all of the nonsense behind. And I see those who are ready will go easily and will be able to march their way through and probably even skip one of the levels and go directly to a higher level than they thought, because it's like, oh, yeah, now that I've survived all of this and I can accept this and understand this, okay, yeah, oh, wow, I'm up here and never going to be able to go back. And so it's like, who'd want to? I mean, really.
Right, right.
And those who, I'm sorry to say, are totally buying into the psyops, I feel like are going to be left behind and just like amusing themselves, and the rest of us will be operating and excelling and learning new methods. Like, I have a feeling currency will change because we
Mm.
won't be owned anymore, so to speak, as
You
we'll
mean
be.
for everybody or just for the ascended ones?
I think it'll be available to everyone, but I think only the ascended ones will understand how it works and truly have access to it, and the others
Are going to
will
freak
be
out
in
and
their
say it's
mind
the
of
mark of
lack
the
and
beast, right?
be in their mind of
It's the
lack
mark.
and be like, I can't afford this or that, and they'll be like, all right, your money's here when you decide, to claim it, but until then, no. And one of the things that I heard, and I think is a beautiful thing if it is true, is when you go to claim the currency of the future, the energy and everything, that is, you have to have a humanitarian aspect to your claim. Like, oh, yeah, I want to help build homes for the homeless. Okay, here's your currency. You have this much money, and be like, cool, I can do that now. And you'd really want to do it. You choose how you want to help humanity. And
Mm.
I think that's why the people who are being in the psyops and being selfish and being all self-absorbent are going to be like, yeah, I want to claim mine. Well, what's your humanitarian? Me. You're not exactly a humanitarian aid project. So, no, you're denied right now until you can figure out mentally how to get to this level. Ain't happening.
Mm. So
Or,
what distinguishes greed or that type of mindset versus someone who has been struggling, but they want, they've ascended, they know they can manifest wealth and abundance, and maybe they want even at this, or do you see this not being in the ascended realm, so to say, where we manifest the tangible things of this world?
I think we'll be able to buy houses or buy cars with it and buy other stuff. But I mean, when I say the humanitarian thing is, okay, let's say in theory, hypothetically, let's say the government goes, well, your energy and everything, we decided your level is $1 million. We're going to give you this year. Now you have to do a humanitarian to get it. And you go, okay, well, I want to give 10,000 to say veterans aid. they're like, all right, well, here you go. Here's your check, and you're free to go do whatever, and places will accept it and everything. But when you, I think how the distinguishing is when you're greedy and everything, and you're like, well, I want I'll take the $1 million and, I'm going to invest it in myself because I'm going to be doing this, and this. And you're like, really have no intention of doing it. I think they're still going to give it to you,
Mm-hmm.
but you're going to go through it so fast. You're going to be like, wait,
Oh.
I need more. I'm out. What's
Mhm.
going on? I ran out. And everybody who's doing the humanitarian aspect, I think the money is going to work in such a way that it's like, yeah, you bought a house, maybe bought a car, helped the vets, you still got money left over. And you're okay. And you may go, oh, let's go travel somewhere. Let's go celebrate. Let's go do something we never thought we could do before. And if you run out, they're going to be like, hey, did you really run out? Check your account. And there may be more in there because
Mhm.
you're, able to manifest.
Mhm.
And so that's where I think the difference is how it's going to balance out is those who are of the light and wanting to benefit and help others will be manifesting on a higher level, and those who are greed driven and only interested in themselves are going to find themselves back in the lack that they believe in and go, wait a minute, I thought this was supposed to be better. And it's like, oh, believe me, it's better.
It
You just
is.
can't see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Wow. That's a new interesting. It still lines up with me and New Earth or fourth, fifth dimension,
Yeah.
same thing
Yeah.
like that.
And
Yeah.
I almost want to say too is I think the greed people may get to ascend to fourth and maybe sit there and try to learn. It's like this is your quote unquote what's the word they used for it in the church system. Oh, it starts with the P. My mind's going blank because they just abolished it, but the purgatory.
Purgatory? Oh yeah.
So like fourth will be like the purgatory where all
Right.
the greedy people are like, this is your last chance to figure out, how to put others first and learn how to take care of yourself and others.
Then remind them of the story of the talents. If we're
And
going biblical, then okay, you got your money. Let's see what you do with it.
yeah, and those that are on the wavelength of helping humanity, I think will go right to fifth and be like, okay, we're operating here and they won't be. And the funny thing is though, is I feel like fifth dimension will be able to see the fourth and third still and be able to watch and probably interact, but
Right.
we won't get sucked in and be like, oh yeah, it's a shame you couldn't do that here. Let me help you out and get you up. It's like, no, we'll be looking at you like, yeah, aren't you glad you stuck by your guns and kept your system the way you wanted it.
Hmm. So, how do we ensure that we get there? I mean, look at where we are. And I just did a post about all of these distractions from Diddy to the elections to salmonella, to.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, where we are today, how can we prep in a sense? Or what do you think it's going to take?
I think it's going to take each individual to wake up and go, you know what? I'm no longer going to be owned by this system. I'm no longer going to allow someone to devalue me or tell me I'm less than who I am. And I guess in a way, it's in metaphysical terms, each individual has to wake up, find their inner power, and stand in it and own it. And then in that moment, their light will shine brighter than ever, and
Mhm.
nothing's going to be able to crack it. And that will be the start, I think, to that, because once you stand in your power, own who you are, and you're like, I feel like a lot of people are going to be like, I always wanted to help, but I never felt I had the power or ability. I was always afraid to. Are
Mhm.
now going to find, standing in their power, going, oh, I have allies. I have friends. I have this energy that I can see them quivering, and I'm not afraid anymore, and start to do what they wanted to do and to help each other. And I think it'll be, oh, not to get into too much conspiracy theories, but I think it'll be kind of like a return to the pre Anunnaki days where humanity was helping
Mm,
each other, and
mm,
we viewed each other as one collective, not I'm this, I'm that, you're this, you're that, I can't be friends with that, or, your people stole this from me, so we're going to fight you to get it back. All
So
of
we're
that's going to
getting
disappear.
it's almost as if we're getting new pronouns. Wonder if we've been practicing. It's no longer you, me, it's we as a collective. Hmm.
Yeah, I would say so. And I mean, and I don't mean this to sound like, not advancing, but I think the I will still be a pronoun as well, because, and I don't mean I as in like the Borg where everybody speaks from one voice.
Hmm.
No, it'll be a different I. It's almost like, I guess if I was to say, like we were saying biblical terms, when somebody asked the Almighty who they are, he goes, I am that I am. And so that's the feeling I get of the I, is when people will, approach you and say, who are you? I am who I am.
Hmm.
We
Now,
are who
In the
we are.
Bible, that was so powerful when Jesus said it that people fell out. I think that same power, once we recognize the vibration, would be that power. I believe he was that example for us. It's as if he was here on earth and everything earthly, the cops were there. I mean, think about it, at the time where he made that statement. I
Yeah.
believe that's the example for us. When we recognize who we are, we're like thunder. It's going to be so powerful, each and every one of us, that you'll knock down this earth, if you get what
Yeah.
I'm saying, in a sense, just like he did. It was the vibration that came out of his mouth that knocked him out.
Yeah.
And
And
that
another example would be is, you know, I'll use the sci-fi movie as a reference because it'll show the power of the person. Is, if you remember, did you see the movie Dune, the one with Kyle MacLachlan, the original version?
I don't know if I've seen the original. Now you got me want to watch something tonight. Okay.
Well, what it is this planet of humans developed a technique of fighting that was known as the weirding way. And they would hold the device in their hand, and when they spoke a word, the device would activate and would project out. Like if your word was to fire, a weapon, it would shoot out an energy towards the person. And he said, here's the power of your voice. And he said, here is a piece of your most hardest substance on this planet. And they said, yeah. He goes, shoot it. No damage to the pillar. He goes, hit it. No damage. He speaks one word with this device and it shatters the
Wow.
pillar. And he goes, this is the power we want to teach you. And the empire and all the other people who were trying to control the spice and control travel were afraid of this because, yeah, you know, how do you defend yourself against a word?
Right. Wow.
Well, when he awakens himself, he starts to use the word and doesn't need the device. And they go, oh, he's gotten beyond the use of the device. His own word carries the power now. And that is where I think we are going is our words are going to create this energy and that's going to ripple out.
Yeah. Wow. That's something. That's something to look forward to as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Now I got to watch the movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things I love about Hollywood is they make these great movies that shows the power of humanity, but then they start remaking them, and it's like they get rid of the what I call the true disclosure message, and they change it out, and you're like, yeah, you totally just screwed this movie up. I mean, it's really good. It still has a cool message, but you totally blew the whole point. And, you know, sometimes I think that's the point of why they do it is to make people go, oh, this new one is better than the original. So forget the original. And it's like, no, you can't.
No. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we are going to a world where I think that's part of the ascension too, is using our voice to state what we want and who we are and to stand up for ourselves instead of going and saying, well, who are you? Well, I'm this job or I'm this person to this person. We're just going to have the label of my voice is my voice. It's me. This is who I am this moment. And that's going to be the key, I think, is we're going to learn to live and operate in moments versus 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, right.
And understand the true essence of time and not the man-made time, because I think that's construct has led to so much confusion amongst the world, and people believe it's natural, and I'm like, how can it be natural if some places do it, some don't? And talking about daylight savings and some, and there's like Newfoundland, Canada will go an hour and a half on the time change instead of an hour. And I'm like, you're telling me this is natural, but yet nobody does it exactly the same, exactly the same time. England changes a week before we do and ends 3 weeks after we do. So there's that fun. And it's like, yeah, once I started realizing this and looking at this, I was like, yeah, you kind of lost me on the time as a natural element that we live by. This is so created.
That only works here on Earth. And I'm like, if you get outside of that, all of that goes out of the window. I mean, if you're going to explore, outside of Earth, yeah, that has to go.
Yeah. I'm like, and I love how they try to do it, like going, well, if we were to go to Mars, it would take like 5 years of our life, and when you come back, people will maybe be gone. I'm like, yeah, I don't think it's going to actually operate that way because I just don't think going to another planet is going to take that many years because I mean that was always to me the funniest thing in like watching like Star Trek where they tried to operate the
Mhm.
ship like you would operate in the Navy or something, and they're like, it's 10 a.m. Your shit starts. I don't know how you do things where you are. And you look out the window and it's pitch black, going, how did I know it was 10 a.m.? It's always black, it's dark.
Mhm.
And going, how do I know when it's morning, night? It's like, yeah, time there's going to be no way to operate with the time
Yeah.
because it's like, it's the morning time. How do you know that? There's no light out. It's all going to be artificial.
And what is mourning? I mean, let's just take all of that. What
Yeah.
it's continual. I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah. And I I love the fact too that it's like you can say to someone, "Oh, I sleep in the morning and I'll when I get up do this or that," and they're like, "But you got up at 10 o'clock. That's not morning." I'm like, "Yeah, it is. It's before noon. That's the a.m." But then you hit midnight and becomes the a.m. and it's like that's confusing to me sometimes because I'm like, why is it we go 11 p.m. morning the next hour?
Mhm.
It's like
Mhm.
it's pitch black. Nobody's operating at this point. Why don't we make this the nighttime? And
Right.
when the light is out, that's the
Make that
daytime.
daytime, right? Mhm.
But
Mhm.
again, well, and here's an interesting one for you too is like we say, okay, so according to the Bible, 0 BC is 0 AD, which is Christ's birth, so to speak.
Mhm.
Well, when Caesar took office, we had the Julian calendar.
Mhm.
Then, when Council of Nicaea comes along and some other councils, we go to the Gregorian calendar and we go from 13 months to 12 months,
Mhm.
31 days, 28 days, occasionally 29 days on 1 month. But we shifted our entire time, but yet we still say at 0, this happened. Which 0 is that? The Julian 13-month 0 or the 12-month Gregorian 0? Because those would be two very different times.
Mhm. Mhm. And in Israel, they're on another whole, you know how they label the days and week? That's another whole
Oh,
system
yeah.
too. Wow.
Well, and what's interesting is I was listening to somebody talking, and it kind of made sense to me how January is not the first month of the actual year. It was, I believe, August was originally the first month, hence Augustus. And that's why you have all the names don't line up and make any sense because somebody decided we're going to rearrange the names of the months to create new months.
You know, I actually start the new year in April. I don't celebrate December 31st. I celebrate in April. I have a happy New Year's party and all.
And I actually read on a um, kind of like a, what do you call it, collective of conspiracy theories that April 1st was the real true first day of the new year. And that's why they call it April Fool's Day, because they switched it to January 1st. And so they're saying now when the actual new year starts, haha, we fooled you.
Hmm. Yeah,
Hence
I mean,
April Fool's Day.
I believe it's really, I mean, I'm going by the sun and the planets. It's April. Again, it's when the sun crosses the equatic line, which we call, that's the new year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and even using the stars, I'm sure you've looked at like the alignment that was supposed to announce the birth of the Messiah.
Mm.
And everybody goes, well, yeah, that's in December. No, that alignment occurred in July.
Yes, that is. Yep.
And the clue that I think is so funny that everybody misses is the shepherds are out with the sheep. Why would the sheep be out in the
In
winter?
the winter, right.
It's like, yeah, there's snow on the ground, but they're going to be eating good tonight. It's
Hmm.
like, gotta watch them, man. They're going to be eating too much of that snow. Got to keep them in line. It's like, no, there's no shepherds out. And yeah, and the reality of, I feel like the hardest thing for people with the ascension is all the beliefs that they've had are so convoluted and misrepresented that that's going to be the
Yeah.
biggest shock to see if can they
Yes.
survive that shock or not. Like, I
Do you
mean,
do you think that's going to be the waking up, or how do I want to say that? Do
the
you see
catalyst.
some type of event, open contact, the downing of religion? Let's just say somebody actually gets on the news. Oh, I don't want to get in trouble. Okay, somebody, I'm not in trouble, but I was going to make a statement about King James and his lifestyle that would totally wreck the modern day church. That's all I'm going to say with that one. I don't,
You
but
know,
I'm just saying for me, that would wreck,
yeah.
Christianity in a sense. But do you see something like that, or economic, other than open contact and the crumbling of religion? I can't think of
Well,
anything else.
personally, I think the awakening is already started because, I mean, look at the fact that even though it was kind of a cosmic joke, but we had the Senate hearings talking about UFOs
Hmm. Hmm.
and disclosing, and I use the air quotes for those on the radio station on that because, yeah, in all honesty, they didn't tell us anything we didn't already know.
Right.
But the people who didn't know were now starting to go, wait a minute, there's something to this. And so now there's more people going, okay. And you can talk in a restaurant and say UFO, and nobody's going to go, hey, we got a straight jacket person for you.
Hmm.
Now they're
Hmm.
going to be like, they're like, oh, you saw one? What was it like? And it's like, it's become more. And I think that's why the government decided we can't use the term UFO anymore. It's a UAP because UFO has become too commonplace in our
Right,
language.
right, right.
And so there's no fear to it. But if you go UAP, they're like, ooh, wait, we got a new term. We got a
That
new
doesn't even, that sounds
name.
like a university. What school do you go to? UAP? That's what that sounds like to me. What is a
No, I'm laughing
UAP?
because how you said that. You're like, I went to UAP. Like, put that stress in that end. Like, yeah, I'm a proud member of UAP.
Mm-mm.
That 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 would be funny though, to have a university that actually has those initials and be like,
Right, UAP.
government,
University
could
of
you please?
Pennsylvania, University AUA. Mm.
University of Applied Physics, and be like, yeah, government, could you please choose another acronym? We're getting too many phone calls from
Mhm,
people saying they're seeing us in the air and
mhm.
we're not in the air.
Mm.
Oh man, no. But no, I think along those lines as well, though, I think more and more people are starting to have experiences and seen stuff. And my favorite in the paranormal field is when people will say to me, I've never had a paranormal experience. And I'm like, are you sure about that? They go, oh, yeah, I would know. And I go, so have you ever had a scent appear out of nowhere that shouldn't be around, or a feeling that something's around that when there's nothing around? And they go, well, yeah, but it lasts really short. And I was like, that's a paranormal experience. And their eyes light up and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah.
How would you define? Help me with that. Define paranormal.
It's funny you asked that because we've been discussing this on a few shows. And to me, the definition I came up with researching it and did an article about it is the actual definition. If you look it up in the dictionary, is anything aside from normal, meaning next to the normal. And so I
Mm.
go, so really, paranormal is the study of the unexplained. So if you can't
Mm.
explain it, it falls under paranormal. And I go,
Mm.
so what's unexplained in the around us right now? Portals, cryptids, spirits, ghosts, stargates, pyramids, time travel, dimensions. It's like,
Mm.
all these different things. And I go, now, if you look at them as unexplained, because that's what they are right now, that means a paranormal investigator has free reign to investigate any or all of those topics.
Mm. Now, is that common? Because
No.
again, if I hear the word paranormal, it's either UFO or ghosts. Point blank. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. Maybe
Yeah.
a poltergeist, but that's still ghost, demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you'll even get a kick out of this is there are people who are arguing whether the supernatural is paranormal or not. And I'm like,
Supernatural.
like angels and the gods, are they paranormal, or what are they? I'm like, and I
Mm.
simply go to them, I go, well, can you explain what they are? Well, no. Then it's paranormal, but it's supernatural. I'm like, supernatural is just another word for paranormal in my
Mhm.
vernacular and way of looking at it. But there are people out there who are like, no, very definite, not the same thing. I'm like, all right, if you don't want to view the gods as being paranormal, that's fine with me. I'm not here to tell you one way or the other. My definition is this. That's what I'm comfortable with. And I view UFOs and star beams and, all that. I'm like, in my way of thinking, all unexplained until the point where we can explain it. And I will say, as a paranormal investigator, I have a lot of interest in those topics. So I do research into those. And, that's where part of my field is. And that's why I created Writing Through the Unknown, is to research that part, because I know some people don't want to go there. Some people do.
Mhm.
So I'm like, if you don't want to go there, watch this show. If you want to go there, you can watch this show and that show because they both kind of bleed into each other. But
Well, I'm
I
happy to hear that you have opened up beyond just ghosts and UFOs, because that's where I am. And I do something called conscious based paranormal. So again, it has to be weird. I mean, so let's take this into a little weirdness with even, broadening out there. So I can give you an example. So I like to sun gaze in the morning. I like to watch the sunrise and drink my coffee and stuff. And I look across the street and there is a bush that is bent over that looks just like this, a head, eyes. I actually have pictures. It looked like Gaia. Or have you seen the woman that has the earth or a globe or something in her belly like that? She's kind of looking down like that. That's
have, and
the
also I think in Moanoa or
Mhm.
that whatever, however you pronounce her name in that Disney movie,
Yes, that's exact.
the
Okay,
lady.
so you
Yeah,
saw how she went back and just turned into shrubbery.
right.
That's what I saw. Now I glanced at it and I'm like, whoa, that looks like a woman. I'm just sitting on the bottom rock and I'm looking. And then I'm like, I wonder. I mean, you could not deny it. The thing looked like a woman. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try to communicate. Now, yes, I have spirit boxes, but this wasn't that kind of dilly. Forget all that tools and all that. We are the tool.
Right.
So I simply, grounded myself, connected with the energy, and begin to ask the question. Here's the investigation. Are you real? Are you, da 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 da? And I started, getting the answers. And that's where I began. I was like, wait a minute. Everything is energy. Everything can communicate, and the trees can. And I'm like, who's talking and communicate? Not just dead people, going to a graveyard. Yes, I understand investigating that. But what about the elemental people or spirit? You get what I'm saying? Things
Right.
like that. And that's where I venture into paranormal investigations, but even into nature and the stars and the planets. And how can you get to a planet to investigate? SpaceX? No.
Astral plane.
So,
Take a
so,
ride on the astral plane.
so that's exactly right. So I think that's part of the ascension process too, is learning new ways, even beyond what, the tradition is, and just exploring and going beyond the limits.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, we laugh about talking like, traveling on the astral plane, but in reality, I was posing to a guest of mine who was studying the astral plane, and I was like, when we look at our life and, if we say, we're living in the matrix system and the astral plane is a system of its own, who's to say being on the astral plane is not the true reality and
Mhm.
we're free to be our true selves in that true reality? And here we're limited because we're operating in the matrix program. And so the normal is actually the astral, and the paranormal or abnormal is here on earth.
Yeah, I can believe that.
And so, yeah. And I mean, when we start to really start to look at what's around us and start to question what is around us and what is reality and everything, you know, I always laugh at, going, well, we've always been taught reality is that which we all agree upon
Mhm.
is around us. But who's to say if you have 100 people in the room and 80 people believe this reality were underwater, and you have 10% that, or 10 people that say, well, we're in a desert, and 5 people that says, we're not even on a planet, we're just floating in space, and you got 5 people who don't care. Who's to say which one of those groups is the true reality? Because if you're on dry land, you're going to be like, water is not my reality.
Mhm.
So therefore you're wrong, you 80 people. But the 80 people living in the water are looking at you on dry land and going, you're not in our reality, so you're not right.
Mhm.
Well, both people can't be wrong, both people can't be right. So it's like, what is reality? And
Mhm.
so
But do you
I,
think they all experience the realities that they have created and spoken? Like the water people are in the water. Everybody is where they say they are at the same time.
actually, to me, the correct answer are the 5 that don't care.
Oh,
Because when you
explain. Yes,
don't,
yes, yes. Explain that one.
because when you think about it, when you say, I don't care, you're not labeling where you are, you just are. And
Mm,
so I could step on a desert and I'm like, okay, my reality right now is the desert. I can go into the water. My reality is
mhm,
now the water. I can step into space. My reality is now space. I can be all of them or I can be none of them because I don't have to take a step anywhere. I can just stay where I am, in which case your reality is actually all, but you don't limit yourself to the reality. So therefore, you're none and you don't care
mhm.
because you're not becoming attached to what is around you. And I think that's the part where people get too sciency and have to prove this or that, and they lose the essence of what it means to be human. And what I mean by that is when I look at history and I look like prehistoric days,
Mhm.
man, went from boulder to boulder and was like, hey, I'm made it to this rock. Okay, cool. I don't have to worry about, I can go back if I want, or, I can go forward. What's over here? What's over here? We explored.
Mhm.
We created around us through experience. Now, where we are today is everything we create in essence is because someone told us we can create it
Yeah.
or told us it was created, so therefore it is. And
Mhm.
we've lost that edge of there's more. And
Mhm.
so, like, if I say, yeah, I can astral travel in space and travel without a spacesuit on the astral plane, people are like, no, you can't do that. You would die because there's no air and, everything. And I'm like, and that's why you will never leave the earth and truly experience the astral plane
Yeah.
because you limit yourself. Whereas those who don't limit themselves, the phrase, like the world is your oyster is true.
Mhm.
Mean whatever you think can happen can happen. And so that is, I think, wow. We talked about in the beginning, how do you know when the ascension is started? And I think that's the reality, is when you realize you are no longer limited by the confines of this. You understand, and by that, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and go hover, and on the sky here, and be like, hey, look, I'm like Superman. I can fly. No, I mean, I could, but it's for the wrong reason, to show off.
Yeah,
Whereas if I go in the astral plane and like, hey, look, standing on the sun and I'm not getting burned,
yes,
or hey, look, I've gone to Andromeda galaxy and back. Well, who's just, nobody can argue with me. I didn't do that because no one's there watching and keeping a tab.
yeah,
Yes, my body is here, but I never said I took my body and went to Andromeda. I
right.
said I went to Andromeda. I don't identify myself as this, what we call meat suit in the
Hmm.
metaphysics or new age vernacular. I'm the energy that's just using this vessel to contain it here. And while I'm on Earth, I'll use, and you're going to love this, I will use the ego to operate here because the ego is my earth guide only
Ooh.
and helps me to maintain connections with people here. But
Mm.
the second I leave, the ego is that choice to join me and rewrite itself, or to say, you know what, you go do you out there. When you come back, you tell me how it was out there, and I will help you integrate that for
Into
here,
your life,
and
right?
it will stay here. And that, I think, is the starting of the true essence of the ascension, is learning here is one set of rules to live by, out there is another set. And you don't have to operate one or the other. You can do both at the same time.
That's right. That's right.
And what'll really start to confuse people, and I learned this through something of my childhood, is when we talk about reality, the actual reality is our past, present, and future are all happening at the same time.
That's right.
There is no, well, 5 years ago we did this and altered this. It's everything is in fluid motion, and time is not a linear system.
That's
It's
right.
actually a loop. And that's where I think a lot of people get confused, is because when they see the loop and realize everything is going, and that's why we can see instantly and feel instantly shifts, like going, okay, yeah, we've made a choice, the future has now been altered and I can feel it. Why can I feel it? Because I'm in that moment,
Hmm.
and the loop is correcting itself, and so it's like you can feel that. And I feel like there are multiple loops intertwined, and that's where the Mandela effects come from. Is you could have a timeline where you're a astronaut. You can have a timeline where you're a monk. You
Hmm.
can have a timeline where you're a soldier, and events happen during different things. And I feel like there are moments in time, and I'm talking galactic time, not earth time, that are meant to happen because they're catalyst moments. And nothing can alter those. And so those moments are like where the timelines all connect. But when you start to think like, the classic case, that it's named for, Mandela. Some timelines he died in the 1980s. Some
Mhm.
timelines he died in the 1990s, 2000s.
Right. Right.
Some he may still be alive. Some he may never have been born. And so people are like, who are you talking about? Or yeah, he was just delivered this speech the other day, and you're like, how could he do that? No way. But those apex points, I think, meet and converge every once in a while, and
Mhm.
where you're mentally at, like if you're thinking something's not right, something's wrong, I can't put my finger on it, and you're just putting all your energy into something's off, something's wrong.
Mhm.
And another timeline comes in and intersects, and that energy of you is, oh yeah, weird, this, confident, strong, it's going to override, and it'll take and start to run its course, and your timeline now goes on that path, and you're like, well, I know I remember the sadness of feeling, Mandela passing in the 80s, but I'm witnessing his funeral right now, like 20 years later. So, obviously, he just died. I just misremember history, is how we write it off. When in
I'm,
fact,
I'm still looking for the Ed McMahon Publisher Clearinghouse videos, commercials.
oh, I know. And the one that I like, because so many people will say, oh, that's just conspiracy hogwash and everything. But the one, I saw this on Facebook, and it like, or not on Facebook, on Google, and I used it on a video for effects, was a lady had a receipt from Fruit of the Loom's company, and it had a cornucopia on it. And I'm like, I remember the cornucopia on their logo. And she wrote the company and said, hey, when did you
Yeah.
guys stop using the cornucopia? And they wrote her back and said, ma'am, we've never used a cornucopia. And she's like, I have your receipt right here showing a cornucopia. And they're like, I'm sorry, man, we've never had a cornucopia. To me, that's one of those rare moments where I'm
Yeah.
like, that is a true Mandela effect,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's clearly their logo. Product was bought. There's a date, there's a time, a location,
Wow.
and it was faded. So it wasn't like she just printed it up and it was like, ooh, haha, I'm going to fake everybody. I mean, it was well worn and hard to read, but you could make it out. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is definite proof of there's some timeline shenanigans, because, yeah. And I mean, and when you think about it, in the 80s, somebody pointed out, this is the sad reality for the 80s, was it was Fruit of the Loom or Hanes, pretty much. There wasn't a lot of, like brands to confuse with.
Uh-huh. That was it.
Yeah.
Those two.
And so it's like, yeah, it's not, you couldn't say, oh, that was somebody else's logo, you're just getting them confused. It was like you
That
literally had
was
two
it.
choices.
That was it.
Now, if somebody was to do it, I'd be like, yeah, probably, you're confusing something. But yeah, it's like, wow. And to remember going, yeah, there was only two choices back then, and now we have like 50, 60 choices at least. It's like, God almighty, where did our intelligence level go to? We could have been inventing all this great stuff, and
Right.
instead we came up with 60 different
Duluth.
versions of the same thing under a different
Duluth. That's what you did. You went to Duluth.
Oh, I love Duluth.
Wow.
Uh,
Well, before I forget, Woo Writers DG is going to get a copy of um my brain just
don't worry, I got you. I know what you're.
um
I know what you're talking
the,
about.
the energy balance. Nope, 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 nope.
Nope,
Not that one.
that's the one you sent me, and I put on the.
Go check
That's the
Messenger.
one on the.
Go check Messenger.
Oops.
Check Messenger. It's called
Hold on. If you're asking me to check Messenger,
I
I
want
gotta
to say
open
the art
that.
of energy balance. That's not it. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, hold on. Uh,
Oh, I know that sound. That's why my door is closed. I know that sound.
yeah, it's the one in the Messenger.
No, hold on,
The
hold on.
Art of Energy Balance. That's the
Yes, that's
one.
not the book you just showed on the screen. You just
Is
showed
it?
the solar eclipse, blah, 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 blah one. What you just put on the screen was about solar eclipse.
That is so bizarre because I even looked at the promo so I would grab the right one. So yeah, that is funny how I'm like, I even was like so proud of myself because I was like, yes, this one matches this one. So this is the right one. I got it already. And it's the wrong one. Oh, so much for my night. No, just kidding.
But Woo Writer DG, I'm sure you could message him on a comment, YouTube comment to get the info.
Okay, now if I can get this. Okay, now let me take a quick moment and reopen this file. Okay, now I got it open. So now I will share it as soon as I find my screen again. Get so many screens open. I always yell at everybody, don't have so many windows open, and I do.
Mm-hmm.
This is why. There you go.
And I said it correctly, the art of energy balance. So, what this book is about is, Michael, have you ever did a paranormal investigation and then couldn't sleep, or uh, just been wired, or felt anxious? You know.
Actually, I will be totally honest with you, Natalie. I am wired after these podcast shows and paranormal investigations. I'm wired for I'll be up 2-3 hours from now, while still winding down.
Mhm.
I'm like, I had to watch TV and play video games, and it's like, then I finally get my mind to shut down, and it's like, oh, yeah, it's sleep time, isn't it? Yes.
Mhm. Well, that's what this book is designed to help you to do. If you don't want to play video games and you want to learn how to balance it, or to keep yourself balanced so that you can just get up from here, go get in the bed, and fall asleep. That's what that is all about. So,
I
Woo,
like the cover.
yes, Woo Writers DG. Make sure you reach out so I can give this to you, send this to you.
Yeah, and I'm curious your viewpoint of, ooh, I get to take my show back.
Yes.
for what, 5 minutes?
Hmm.
But in all seriousness, because like you show the chakras lined up on the body and everything, and a friend of mine that I grew up with, his name's William Henry. You may know him from Ancient Aliens, but he actually showed, and it kind of resonated with me that as everybody is looking for the Ark of the Covenant, and why nobody's finding it is because they're looking in the wrong place. It's not an external thing, it's an internal thing.
Yep.
And he likes to show where the Ark of the Covenant is inside of us, in the full one that has the towers and everything
Hmm.
that are supposed to be attached to it for energy devices that look like Tesla towers. He goes, those are your energies, and it lines up with the body, and it's like, ooh, I totally get that. That totally makes sense. And
Hmm.
apparently I traveled back to the 80s because I'm using the word totally a lot. But yeah, and so I'm curious, your thoughts of, is that really truly, one of the mysteries of the universe is that it's within us and not an external.
I would say 100% yes. Uh, because remember, this is just the meat suit. The real us is on the inside. And that's where we should be functioning. Everything is from the inside, not tangible. And I'll even go back to scripture. It's not made by man's hands. The true temple. If we just bringing that all. And let me tell you who I've learned. You talk about ancient aliens. I am very good friends with Reverend Michael Carter, who's been on there. And that's the preacher, that's in there with that.
Right.
So I would say everything is from within, and we experience based on within coming out, so to say. So energy is within. To me, the chakras are like stargates in a sense, where you can go into another dimension, a new world, through each one. And every gate is an experience, every portal, every, you know, but it's all within. It's nothing even medically. It's really, I mean, every aspect of our lives, if we could line it up within. I'm talking about from economy, I mean, everything. We got it backwards. We've been functioning using outside, and that's been affecting inside. Where if we would reverse, kind of like this, inside and expand out, and that's magic. That's it. That's it.
And to piggyback on what you're saying about the chakras being energy portals of different things, is when I was in Qatar, France, we were going to specific places, and those would be aligned to certain chakras. And it ends with, you know, Scotland with the, I believe, is it the Rosalind Chapel.
Mm-hmm.
And every one of those spots along the way are chakra points, and that's the journey that they would take. And if you go on Egypt, I did a tour with William Henry in Egypt, and each temple we stopped at was a chakra point.
Wow.
And so, and this will even drive it further, is in Tennessee near the Parthenon. Yes, I said Parthenon. There is a bicentennial mall where when you start at the base of it, you can feel it in your root chakra. And there's divisions of every chakra to the crown chakra where they have these bell towers and the three
Ah,
stars.
the bells. Oh boy.
And
Oh boy.
one of the points that I found the most interesting and surprises me every time that I would go there is when you're walking up to the left of the pathway is an obsidian ball that's got like I believe it's got the globe on it, like the
Mm,
outline of all the planet or not planets, but the countries and everything on it. And it's suspended by water. It's literally got a
man.
base with water at the bottom, push, like kind of like rushing up it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of almost like a fountain where it's somewhat draping off the sides, and you can put your hand on it and feel the water going around your fingertips. But if you were to go like this, the obsidian ball moves. It's like weightless on this water.
Wow.
And I'm like, this defies all logic because you can
Mm-hmm.
knock on it and it's solid.
Wow.
But on this water, you can rotate it as fast as you want, as slow as you want.
Mm.
And I'm like, this is so amazing. And they did a timeline of human history of the US
Mm-hmm.
and Tennessee. And each like moment in history, like, say the Civil War, lines up with one chakra. And it's like when you look at what chakra it is, you're like, that makes sense. Huh. And you go to the next one. And what's interesting is if you're attuned to the energies, when you pass into the energy of the next chakra because the whole park starts to feel different.
Wow.
Each section you go to, and it's totally wide open.
And what is this called?
It's Bicentennial Park in Nashville.
Mm.
And it is incredible to walk in. There's an amphitheater at the base, ironically, and so they'll do presentations there sometimes, but it's like, man, it's so interesting how there's so many things in our world that's been placed as maps to help you with certain
Yeah.
things that have been right in front of us for centuries
Yeah.
and never gave it a single thought until one day the light bulb proverbially turns on and you're like, how did I never know this before and feel this before? And it's almost like, you know, when they when people began, understanding about seeing spirits and channeling and everything, they're like, once that door's open, you can't close it.
You can't go back. That's right.
And you're like, yeah, once you start feeling this energies, you can't go back and be like, nope, it's just a park. There's nothing to feel here. It's like your body will always remember. And the part that I'm interested in and people have been starting to talk about, and I'm curious your viewpoint is we talk about soul memory a lot and that your soul remembers a lot of things, but where is it stored? Everybody is like, well, it's a chakra or it's somewhere in your body. Somebody actually told me your aura field is your soul memory. It's in your aura field. And I was like, what do you mean it's in the aura field? And they go, well, the energy that you're putting out contains your spirit. And so, therefore, it remembers. And so when it interacts with someone who it knows, they feel comfortable to approach. When they
Mhm.
feel somebody that's approaching that you have past life with that needs work on or you need to avoid, it'll cause that person to like kind of bounce off and won't
Mhm.
approach. And I was
Mhm.
like, that makes sense, but I don't know that I still would say the soul memory is in the aura field, but something is causing the aura field to operate that way. So it does make you wonder,
And see,
is
I'm
it?
thinking more on the consciousness line because I can tap into consciousness and gain wisdom and revelation. We're all connected. Everything, every from the animals to the rocks on the ground, ants. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So to me, again, adding this matrix, to me, the web universally it's based on our consciousness. Think of a spider web. You have your thoughts and memories, this, and the string goes like we're forming a string now by having this experience. So if in 10,000 years someone needed knowledge, let's say about what we're talking about right now, I don't think this will disappear. It doesn't have to be on YouTube, but do you see what I'm saying?
right.
Our thoughts are stored consciously and can be, and you can, I'm not talking about the Akashic records and all of that or auras. I'm just talking about consciousness itself and not to go scientific and all of that. But that's how I see it as where knowledge is stored there.
Yeah, and I
Just a
agree
thought.
that
Just a thought.
yeah, and what's also interesting, and then we'll look at wrapping it up because I just realized we're over the almost an hour and a half, and so I do appreciate your patience and understanding on the time. But one thing that I came across and I never gave a second thought to was like past lives. We have memories of past lives. So we understand those are there. But I did some shadow work with someone where we actually took a cord from a past life and cut it so that it was no longer attached to me and feeding on me. And I was like, I never thought about a past life being a cord attached to me and siphoning
Mhm.
energy and doing whatever it's doing. And I was like, yeah, if a pattern no longer serves, cut the cord. If a person no longer resonates with you, cut the cord.
Mhm.
But it never dawned on me, hey, this past life doesn't serve you anymore. We think we look at it, we learn from it, we grow from it, and say, okay, I now see the positiveness, absorb the positive, we're done with it. But no, apparently there's still a cord.
But where did that knowledge come from that said cord cut it? It wasn't from the aura.
Well,
I'm
no,
just
I
saying,
mean,
where did, and I bet you it came in consciously as a
right,
thought, as an idea, hmm, and
right,
trusting the universe. You go and it was success. So that's what I mean by it's all conscious wise.
right.
I'm
No,
not even talking about going into the whole past life part. I'm just talking where did the idea of the cord came from?
right.
Universal knowledge. Who somebody somewhere, past, present, future, dropped that down and said, "Yep, do this."
Yeah, right. And I was just meaning, yeah, I'm agreeing with you about it. It's just I was pointing out that, you know, I that was a new aspect of chords. Had never
Mhm.
even imagined actually being out there, and it's like, and it's one of those moments you look back and you're like, how the hell did we get this far and not realize that while we're cutting all these other chords? How did we never notice these chords?
Wow.
And so, yeah, I just love how energy works and how shadow work works and
Mhm.
all the growth and I love the fact that it's like I can say, yeah, I've done this work, say 30 years, and I'm still learning stuff now. And
Right.
so that's what I love about it is, we're never truly done learning.
Right. Wow.
Well, thank
Cool.
you for coming on again, and thank you for a fun evening and putting up with all the shenanigans apparently of the night.
What's
And
funny, I just looked and there is this thing right here. And I looked, I was like, what the? That.
oh, the little green guy?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I had to look like, what the world is that? The podcast, something post, some little figure that's on the right hand side, something post network, something right there. Yeah, that got me.
Oh, you're on the other side, the little
Mm,
ghosty guy. That's
yeah,
Parapost Network.
yeah.
That's their symbol.
He got
And
me.
it's a little ghost. And
He got me. He got me. I looked and was like, whoa, he got me.
oh, that's funny. So, where can people find you if they have questions for you or want to delve into some of the topics that we were talking about?
Right under my name, oraclesofhealinglight.com.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for coming on and experiencing another fun evening of podcasting with me. And hope you had as much fun this time as last time or more. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for the intro.
Yeah,
Oh, play the intro. Play the
I,
intro. You have
I,
to. You
I
have
know.
to.
After all that we set up to, yeah. I'm like,
You got to play the intro.
oh, so as we're doing this show in reverse mode, I'm going to say, so as we get to the beginning of this episode, what is a golden nugget you'd like to leave everybody with?
The golden nugget, I would say, is discover who I am is the greatest thing we can push right now is ascension with everything that is going on. You're absolutely correct. We are, it's almost as if we're going like this and I want as many people, I don't know, left, right, whatever, no direction, no left, right, but I want all of us. I would love to see everybody get to that place, like you were describing. And I'm really pushing, self-discovery, do the shadow work, deal with your demons, get the healing that you need so that you won't be tethered here. You're talking about a cord. Oh my gosh. Break the cord of the matrix, unplug from the matrix, unplug, that's really what I'm pushing. And I thank goodness for shows like this that people can hear from regular normal, people and be enlightened. So yeah, unplug, discover who I am is. And it's not a church cliche.
I love it. And so, yeah, so wherever you are in the world, make it a wonderful day, evening, morning, afternoon. If you're asleep, hopefully you're having sweet dreams. And when you wake up, feel free to watch this episode and all the other episodes that we do. And as Natalie pointed out, take each day and look to see, what is your answer to who am I? What am I? And don't limit yourself and see what you can rise up to and, find you're capable of. And so, with that, fill each moment with love and joy. And we are going to say good night. And I feel it's time to launch the intro. All right. Have fun, everyone, and enjoy this awkward episode that was so much fun. Well, I clicked. Why didn't it go? Okay. So now that we enjoyed the intro, I am going to take this moment to wish everyone out there a blessed Samhain. So, blessed be and merry meet to those who celebrate Samhain. And a happy Halloween to everyone. And with that, we are going to say good night to everyone. Have a wonderful Halloween. Okay.